loan as part of that deal. Kevin Keegan's holding talks with the Newcastle board this afternoon. There's reports he could be sacked at St James's Park. It's not all been football transfers over the last 24 hours. Salford City Reds have signed Mark Henry from North Queensland Cowboys. Henry will join teammate Ray Cashmere along with Luke Swain and Jeremy Smith at the New Look Reds next season.
Is a musical chairs over now?
With who?
With the football, you know, all that. He works here, he
for
works...
now,
No, he doesn't.
until January, Alan.
Till January.
I'm sure you can't wait.
I can't wait, you're right, you're absolutely right, I just cannot wait.
BBC
I'll manage
Radio
though,
Manchester, satellite weather with Diane Oxbury.
Well, don't be fooled by the fact that the start of the day looks pretty good. There's plenty of blue sky out there. As we go through the morning, we'll start to see cloud cover building. And I think as you get into the afternoon, you'll be very, very lucky if you avoid the showers. Where they turn up, some of them will be heavy, fairly lively. And it's cool. Top temperature is 18 Celsius.
Allan Beswick with you on the phones.
0161 228 2255.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Here we are again, happy as can be. Yeah. So, who plays for who now? You? Oh dear God. No, it's got a bit like. Well, nah. Yeah, okay, I will. It seems to me. You say I hedge me bet. It seems to me it's got a bit like fantasy football. You just put your own team together now, providing you're an Arab. Obviously, if you're a dyed-in-the-wool Brit, you ain't got to... Oh, I'm a Rusky, you can be a Rusky and do it, yeah. Or a Yank, or a couple of Yanks. I think I might have mispronounced. Yeah, fantastic. Who else is there then? Is there somebody else out there going to buy a dirty great big club? Are they the ones... Now, I don't know or care, but it just enters your head, doesn't it? Are they the ones who've bought Manchester City? Are they the ones that were negotiating to buy Liverpool, but the people who owned Liverpool couldn't agree with each other to sell, keep, do anything else? Because they may have kissed and made up now, I can't remember, but yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I asked, I don't care. I really don't. Anyway, it's all gone that way. Listen, that Selina Scott, who has never said whether she did or didn't have it off with Prince Andrew, but she's allowed the story to go. Unlike Koo Stark, who told everybody and offered to sell pictures if I... No, I don't think she did. No. And then eventually married the Green Stamp Man. No, that's Koo Stark, not Selina Scott. But Selina Scott is bringing a case against Channel 5, I think it is, for age discrimination. But, I mean, you don't really want an old biddy reading the news, do you? Do you know what I mean? Well, do you? You know, I mean, the news can be quite depressing at times. And you want a bit of totty reading it, don't you? I mean, she was a bit of totty. I don't remember when she was a bit of totty, when she was getting the jobs. I don't remember saying, no, don't give it me, give it some slapper. I don't remember that. I remember her taking the $500,000 a year and saying, yes, I'm lovely me, I think I might have it off with Prince Andrew. But I shan't be telling you, for I do not kiss and tell, even if I have kissed and I say not. I don't think she phrased it quite like that. But I don't remember her saying, give me the bag and let some old biddy in. No, she hung on to that job like a limpet. So if it's good enough for her when she's young, then it's good enough now. Personally, I'm not bothered. But what's wrong with a bit of age discrimination? Exactly. I can't think of it either.
John Thompson, he knows what he means.
Paradiddle is right, left, right, right. Left, right, left, left.
Every day.
Yeah, that's paradiddle in the background. So if you sing it, I'll do it.
Every day it's getting faster.
Try and listen to my beat, Andy, that might help. That's a paradiddle.
John Thompson, he knows what he means.
What was that other group that was ska?
Special, ska, more reggae.
Special.
Come in like a ghost town. It's always very camp though, guys. Do you remember the good old days before the ghost town?
John Thompson's take on the world.
Very, very low key.
Saturday from 11 on BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. While we're on the subject of prejudice, there's a story today. It's in a variety of newspapers. I don't think it's in them all, because quite a lot of them aren't bothered one way or t'other. But it's in a variety of newspapers. It's got a full page in the Thunderer. in the Times, which is not really the Thunderer anymore, is it? Oh, he's hiding in here now. No, it's not. The gay clergyman whose abortive appointment as Bishop of Reading came close to splitting the Church of England could soon become Britain's first openly gay diocesan... Ooh, that's hard. Bishop. Dr. Geoffrey John, for it is he. Dr. Geoffrey John, the Dean of St Albans, who 2 years ago celebrated a civil partnership ceremony with another priest, is to be nominated, and this is an unfortunate term, I suppose, but he's nominated as the Bishop of Bangor. Well, he wouldn't bang her, would he? He might bang him, but he won't bang her. Anyway, he's been nominated as the Bishop of Bangor in North Wales. Fortunately, it's in North Wales, so it doesn't really matter. But there you are. Liberals welcome the news, obviously. That's liberals within the church, not within the Clegg. Not them sort of liberals. They probably welcome it as well, I don't know. But these are liberal people. Liberal people welcome the news, but the Conservative people, again, that's not your Cameron Conservative. That's your just generally people who want to conserve the traditions. Conservative people, you see. Yeah. Well, they're pretty peed off, to be frank. They gave a warning that it would aggravate the tension, over sexuality that are threatening to rend the Anglican communion in two and revive the rancour that followed the consecration of the Bishop Gene Robinson in New Hampshire in the US 5 years ago. Do you care? There's a thought. Do you care? Is it acceptable for... Is it acceptable for the Church of England to appoint a man to the bishopric who is gay? So they're not appointing a gay bishop, because a bishop's a title. It's like having, I don't know, it's like having a gay window. It's just a title, it's a job. It doesn't mean anything. It's a job. But the man is gay. So I've segregated the two there. I've said, well, he's just a bloke doing a job. But the bloke doing the job is gay. So is it acceptable in the Church of England, or any other church for that matter? Yeah. You get this strange sort of mixture of emotion, don't you? Because we know from past evidence, we know that a number, not the majority by any means, but a number of Roman Catholic priests have been gay. We know that by the way they've been locked up for interfering with boys. Now, some have been really weird. Some Roman Catholic priests have been really weird and interfered with girls. Again, a tiny minority, but you know, the general way to go for those who are that way inclined is to interfere with boys. It's what they do. So we know that they exist, that within the Roman Catholic Church. But the Roman Catholic Church, when it discovers that you're a bit of a boy's trouser fumbler, gets shuttier as a priest. They say, well, we're not having you as a priest. Along comes the Pope and splashes with water, whatever he does. Maybe he sets fire to your hair or something, but says you can't have it. They don't really have gay sort of imams, do they, in Islam? And I feel fairly sure that you're not going to get a gay traditional rabbi. You're just not. It's because it is frowned upon within the faith. So what about the Church of England then, which seems a bit more floppy with its rules, doesn't it? The Church of England, it's not a strict church. Even the Anglicans, even the strictest of the lot, it's not a strict church. It is very, very, and all the better for it, you might argue. But it's quite a floppy church, isn't it? A floppy faith. You can pick and choose. I mean, they never did away with that bloke from Durham, did they? The Bishop of Durham, when he said virgin conception. What nonsense! Yeah. So they never did away with him. So you can, you know. You get into your Church of England, you can make it up for yourself. All you have to do is turn out once in a while, maybe Christmas. Christmas is a good time. You can be a Christmas C of E, it's very good. So they're not a strict and rigid church, they are quite floppy. So do you think it's acceptable for the Church of England to nominate a gay man as a bishop, potential bishop? In other words, do you accept gay bishops like women priests? And what were the consequence anyway? Because certainly some of the African faith, some of the African dioceses, is that what they call them? But they'll be well dischuffed. because they said so at the last lot, didn't they? At the meeting in Canterbury, they went berserk. As berserk as they go when they're just being grumpy about God-boggling. So anyway, there you are. So such is. This is from David, following the Manchester City takeover, I expect the club may well have to come up with some half-time entertainment, and I presume they'll no longer be selling pork pies or alcohol. Yet when in Rome, I guess is the phrase there, isn't it? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. Gordon says, bang the bishop. Steady now. Yeah, and then, Kevin says, I watched the making of Taggart on television last night. The actor who plays the part of the gay copper was asked, was it a problem playing a gay? In Glasgow, it's a bigger problem playing a copper than a gay. He said, you get more stick on the street. Fair enough. Well, that's quite witty, isn't it? Yeah, that's marginally witty. Listen to this. Half an hour ago, this was written at 20 to 12 by Graham. Half an hour ago, I just drove down Nell Lane by Southern Cemetery, and I saw a community support officer operating a speed camera. There was probably somebody else with her, but the camera was being operated by a female community support officer. A couple of questions, asked Graham. Are they allowed to do this kind of police work? Is that what the government had in mind when they set up the force? So I've not heard of that before, of a community support officer operating a speed camera. So the question is, are they allowed to do it? And if so, when did they become allowed? And is that what the government set up the force for? Because I thought the community support officers were to be the, if you like, the poor man's Bobby on the beat, as it were. That's what I thought they were for. But if then they're going to be doing things like operating speed cameras, then frankly they are no longer the Bobby on the beat. They're just a poor man's Bobby. Hazel Blaze it was, says Graham, I think, who was always saying they would show a local presence. In my book, standing on a road that carries lots of traffic but very few local people is not what they were intended for. It's not using them the way they were intended. Do you think the noddy bobbies should be allowed to use traffic cameras? Perhaps we'll check it out. Perhaps we'll find out whether that is what has been done. Perhaps we'll ask the bobbies. Yeah, we will. We'll ask the bobbies. So we'll get on to Greater Manchester Police and we'll ask, because we've just been told that at 11 this morning, there was a community support officer, a female, operating a speed camera in, I suppose it'd be in Ancoats, Beswick, that area. Well, I might as well get the specific address. Yeah, I'll get the specific address by reading this email again if I've not deleted it. I usually have by now. Yeah, I have. That would teach me, wouldn't it? Anyway, yeah. But, I mean, do you think they should? And we'll ask the police whether that's been done. Yeah, it was on Nell Lane by Southern Cemetery. And it was at about 11:40 this morning. Have you ever seen it? 0161 228 2255, and we're going to find out whether indeed that, I mean, it might have just been that it's her mate, mightn't it? They might be mates. She might have said, well, what are you doing? I'm just doing this with this cat. Can I have a go? Yeah, go on then. And it might not have even, because I once had a go on one. Mind you, I was interviewing the police at the time, and they let me have a go. It was in, where was it? It was outside Victoria Park in Warrington. And I stood there with the gun in my hand, and you can see it reads out the... And I did all that. Obviously, we never charged anyone, because, well, I don't have that kind of power, really. And the copper, because he wasn't doing it, didn't charge anyone either. But we saw a few. I saw a few. I said, he's speeding. I can tell. So it might have just been that. It might have just been giving his mate a go. I have absolutely no idea. 0161 228 2255. If you've something to say, feel free. Dead easy. And of course you can do it via the email address, which is radiomanchester@bbc.co.uk, and you can text on 07786 206 951. straightforward enough. And, of course, it's Tuesday today, so we're off up in Oldham, where Kevin Fitzpatrick is taking your information. Where are we at? Hyde we are, I'm sorry, he's moved over a bit. Yeah, he's in Hyde, and he's doing the old congestion for Dingle. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. He's at Asda, in fact, in Hyde. Still time, you'll be there till 2. Or, of course, you can talk to us on 0161 228 2255. It's just gone 20 past 12 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Mark Edwardson.
If you're trying to buy a house for up to £175,000, there's some good news for you this lunchtime. From tomorrow, you won't have to pay stamp duty. The government's raising the threshold by £50,000 for 12 months. One of the leading international economic think tanks has predicted that the UK will, however, go into recession later this year. And police are hunting a rapist from Bolton who failed to turn up at court to get his 6.5-year sentence. Manchester's weather, sunny spells, giving way to showers this afternoon, highs of 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, if you're using the M60 Barton Bridge anti-clockwise between 11 Barton and 10 the Trafford Centre, be aware an earlier collision has left traffic quite heavy in the area, with congestion all the way back to 13 at Worsley. The inside lane was closed off the 3 on the middle of the Barton Bridge, but thankfully that has now been reopened to traffic. We're also having some reports of slow-moving traffic in the Oldham area this afternoon on Manchester Road westbound. That's the A62. It's queuing up between Chapel Road and Drury Lane. It's slow from Oldham towards the M60. And delays of 30 minutes can be expected between Manchester, Victoria and Bolton due to signalling problems between Clifton and Farnworth. Hopefully, all should be back up and running by around about 2 o'clock. And don't forget that amended timetable still in operation on Virgin trains between Manchester Piccadilly and London Euston to allow Network Rail to carry out engineering works on the tracks. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on 0161 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
You're never more than 20 minutes away from the latest traffic through the day.
Well, as I said, Kevin Fitzpatrick's at Asda in Hyde. Still time to get up there and tell him what you think of the congestion charge. Have your say. You'll get your chance to vote, of course, in December, the 11th of December, I think it is. And it's going to be a postal vote because, well, they've proved to be so reliable in the past. Kevin?
Yes, Alan. Well, of course, we're touring Greater Manchester as part of our congestion conversation. I've been in Tameside today, and depending which part of the borough you live in, you'll either see a revolution in public transport or not much change at all, really. I've been at Ashton Market this morning. The Metrolink will go all the way from Manchester, through Wardenshire, through Droylsden, to the town centre there, if we decide to vote yes in a referendum and this big plan gets the go-ahead. But now I'm in Hyde, just outside Asda. It's still outside the congestion charge zone, so you won't have to pay to get here if you work here, but you will have to pay to get into Manchester from here if you can't avoid those peak times or indeed get on public transport. But it's not really a place where there'll be a big noticeable change to the infrastructure of the transport system, at least. We'll hear what people here think about the plans in a moment, but first, this is a roundup of how public transport could improve around Tameside.
Manchester's congestion charge station is BBC Radio Manchester.
So if you live in Tameside, here's how it's looking. Cash from the congestion charge will mean you'll be able to catch a tram right into the heart of Ashton-under-Lyne, thanks to a new 3.8-kilometre extension to the line. Metrolink stops will be built at Audenshaw, Ashton Moss, Ashton West and Ashton Town Centre, but you'll get the tram extension to Droylsden with or without the charge. There'll be extra carriages on peak time trains. You'll see improvements to stations at Flowery Field, Newton for Hyde, Hattersley and Broadbottom. There'll be more buses travelling more often and running earlier and later in the day. You'll also see more CCTV, interactive transport signs and yellow school buses.
Charge or no charge? No charge. Tell us what you think. Manchester's congestion charge station is BBC Radio Manchester.
So we heard there that in Hyde they'll get more buses and trains, Alan.
What I don't get is on every one of them we say you'll get more CCTV. Where?
on buses, I think.
Right.
They're saying that public transport is going to be safer.
Right,
That's
so
the gist of
you're not going to pay your congestion charge for improved transport, as it's claimed, and then end up with cameras in the city centre. It's going to be on the transport.
Absolutely, because that's one of the big fears, isn't it?
Well, so they say, yeah. And so when you get raped on the 27, at least they'll have a film of it.
They will do, yes.
Yeah, well, that's because it's proved. I don't know how many people have been convicted as a result of CCTV so far. I think we're down to 0. Anyway, do go on. What have people been saying?
Well, here in Hyde, just there, they're going to get more buses and trains, no Metrolink, a couple of spruced-up train stations nearby. But I have been surprised, actually, how many people around here say, oh, well, I'm not really interested, it doesn't affect me because I don't go into Manchester or I don't drive, because you'd think that those would be the people who'd say, yes, I'm all for it, because they'll get all this public transport improvement and it's other motorists who'll have to pay for it. But lots of people do have an opinion round here, and here is a few of them.
Travelling from, well, within Hyde anyway, is not very good. We've got probably one route, I'd say, that's a decent route, and that's the 3:30 into Ashton, which is a bus. But the bus isn't good when you've got a pram this big and a little nipper snapper that's running up and down it. So whatever they can do about it, it'll make a difference. Tram.
Well, they say there would be big improvements to buses and stuff like that, but the price, obviously, some motorists would have to pay. Is that a price worth paying?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, definitely. I'm willing to anyway. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I would.
I think if it's necessary to stop congestion, then obviously it's something we have to do, but you just have to get used to paying as you go along, don't you?
As a driver, no, I wouldn't like to pay it. But as I don't drive and it's hard for us on public transport, then yeah, I would pay it if it made a difference.
Well, obviously it'll be more buses. Personally, I don't go into town anyway, apart from if I've got to pick the wife up. But I wouldn't do it, because obviously you're going to be paying. And it's not really going to give us a tram or anything, so from my perspective, it just seems like another stealth tax. Another way of emptying our pockets.
Another stealth tax, another way of emptying our pockets. Number of people in Hyde who don't go into Manchester. By Jove.
Yeah, it would seem that way.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a fair few shops, but obviously I'm at Asda, it's during the day, so lots of the people knocking around here don't work in Manchester.
Yeah.
But I think generally there are a number of places around Greater Manchester, like Hyde, you know, like places in Bolton and Bury, which are fairly self-contained. There's no need for them to go into Manchester, let alone go into Manchester at peak times. So people living in those areas may be weighing up what improvements they might get and think, well, for me, it's a good option because someone else will pay for it. But I definitely got a different reaction in Ashton and in the centre of Oldham, a more positive reaction in a place where people can almost picture the changes that would happen. They can imagine the Metrolink line coming into their town and the changes that would come with that. Then you come somewhere like Hyde and like Failsworth, where I was the other week, and people are looking around thinking, well, I can't imagine anything changing, I can't see anything changing, so I'm going to have to pay this thing, and it's just another tax.
All right, Kevin, thank you very much indeed. Kevin's at Asda in Hyde, as you heard. He'll be there till 2 o'clock, taking your name and your particulars and finding out your opinion on the congestion charge. It would seem that Hyde, frankly, doesn't care either way on the very poor survey of a simple number of people coming along and voting and expressing their view. We'll have to see, won't we? We'll just have to see what happens at the election. It's going to be a postal ballot, which, well, would you rely on them on the way they've been operated in the past? We shall see anyway. The 10 towns will get their vote. If seven of those towns vote in favour, the congestion charge will be introduced. If fewer than 7, it will not. Matthew in Fallowfield. Hiya, Matthew.
Hiya, Alan. Are you okay?
I'm very well, thank you. What have you got?
I just wanted to ring in and say I've seen community support officers operating traffic cameras.
Have you?
In the past. Well, I saw it in Newarth Road. I've seen it. Newarth Road, Ellenbrook, Warton, you know, down that way.
Yeah.
Newarth Road, I've seen that. And it was a few months ago. And whether they were assisting a full-time Bobby, I'm not sure. But they were definitely a community support officer with them.
And, I mean, what do you think of that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they were trained to do it, but I was a bit surprised when I saw it because I don't know. Can special constables do it? I don't know. Do specials operate cameras as well? I mean,
specials are
police officers.
Yeah, they're police officers. I mean, they don't get paid. I think they get some expenses or something, but they don't get paid.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd be if you're speeding, you're speeding, aren't you? It's a difficult one, really. But as Graham said, Hazel Blair had said that they were there to be just the eyes and ears for the police for the general public, and not really to be doing them sort of tasks. So probably it seems a bit bad. I was also before, about half an hour ago, I was going to ring you to ask you something else. I saw somebody on a moped with a cycling helmet on. Is that legal? With like a normal bike helmet on a moped.
It depends what you mean by moped.
Well, it looked like like a little 50cc type thing, but it was an elderly chap. But it was petrol driven, so I would have. Can you ride them with a cycle?
I don't think generally. No, you can't. You have to have a proper BSI standard motorcycle helmet when riding a motorcycle.
That's what
and then we have to look at the definition of motorcycle. And I suppose it's possible that some paraffin piddle pot doesn't constitute motorcycle. I'm not sure.
Well, you suppose you have to have a license, don't you, to ride them mopeds, don't you? I don't know.
No, I
just saw it before, and I just saw it, and I thought, because it stuck out. It was obviously a cycling helmet, and well, that's a bit strange. I wonder if Alan knows the answer.
I don't, but the DVLA will.
Not that I want the guy reporting or anything.
No.
He's a nice chap, but...
I don't know, you can tell he was a nice chap as he went by, but you're obviously much more perceptive than I. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? All those people, all the motorcycle freaks will know, all the Herberts will know, won't they? But I wonder, what constitutes a motorcycle? That's what the question is, really.
Yeah, because Yeah.
I mean, it's
your driving licence has. I'm sure a moped you have to have a provisional, don't you, to drive what I would term as like your 50cc petrol-driven jobby. That's what I always thought was a moped type thing. But I suppose they used to have actually pedals on them, didn't they, to get them going?
In the old days, the old ones did, yeah. And that one might be. I mean, I don't know this, but I can see a distinction between a motor scooter and a motorised bicycle. Do you follow me?
It could be electric, couldn't it, or...
Well, you
have electric bikes, and they don't.
You have those electric bikes where you pedal for a bit, charging up the battery, and then you can run it on the battery. So I think that constitutes a motorised bicycle rather than a motor-bicycle.
Maybe it's something to do with it being combustion-driven. I don't know.
Nor do I. But I bet somebody does.
I'm a gas man, so I don't know.
You're a gas man?
So I don't
You're a gas man and I'm a gas bag. Between us, we've got it covered. Have a good one, Matthew. Thank you very much. He's seen them. He's seen CSOs operating traffic cameras. That's hardly serving the community, is it? In the way we thought they were all going to be walking about in twos and pretending they were policemen. Well, they really are pretending they're policemen now. Derek in Lee says he was deeply disturbed last night watching a Dispatches documentary on Channel 4. Well, I'm willing to believe the Saudis don't sanction state-sponsored terrorism. They are up to their necks in it when it comes to promoting religious hatred. I thought laws had been recently brought in to deal with such intolerance. But doesn't Gordon and his fawning ilk take the biscuit by the way they prostrate themselves at the altar of the Arabs' petro-billions? Well, yes, they do. Steve in Liverpool, hi.
Hello, Alan.
What have you got?
I want a question answering. I'm not actually from Liverpool, I'm from Buxton, and a couple of weeks ago, some time ago, there was a geezer who came on your show saying there was a stealth bomber in Buxton. It was on one of your trailers.
I do remember him, yes. He said
Can you just tell me the story about it? Because I live in Buxton and I'm very, very intrigued.
That's the story. He said there's a stealth bomber hidden underground in Buxton.
And what was his, foundations for that? Do you know, did he say anything?
I thought at best they were shaky.
No, I think it's this water they drink. I'm not a Buxton lad, you see. I moved up there some years ago.
Well, the thing, I'm rather worried because I'm going up there to a wedding in the not-too-distant future, and I'm already getting very, very nervous about it. Yeah, I think he was just taking the mickey, to be frank.
Well,
but that's what he said. There's a stealth bomber hidden underground in the caves under Buxton.
It's probably because of the health and safety executive.
It could be. The trouble is, you see, he was trying to fool me, because I could have so easily said, well, I'll go and have a look for it, but you're not going to find a stealth bomber, are you?
Well, it'll be missing. But
you won't be able to find it, that's the whole point.
what he's got confused with, Alan, is from time to time around the Buxton area, you see a lot of cars with blankets over them.
Cars
You
with
know, like-
blankets?
Yeah, it's a strange thing. You know, like if a manufacturer puts a car on the market, obviously it's got to be tested.
Yes.
And I think what he does is, I think these cars may go up to the health and safety executive, and they're all covered up with like a black blanket.
Yes.
So you can't see the manufacturers. Now, whether he's getting one of them confused with the stealth bomber that he's seen going around, I'm not sure.
Well, your stealth bomber's a bit bigger than your average family car.
Well, not if he's used to Airfix kits.
Well, if he's used to Airfix, yeah, I'll grant you that, yeah. I don't know whether Airfix do a stealth bomber, because I think they went busted before the stealth bomber arrived. And I now know that they do, because I remember buying one for a nephew, and when he got it, it was an empty box.
Well, that's it. It's flown.
I said,
Oh, you don't know if
"Bloody
it's
good."
flown, do
Well,
you?
that's exactly it. He got an empty box. He said, bloody good, isn't it? Well, anyway, I think he was winding us up.
Oh, right. No,
Which is a shame, really, because I would have liked one to have been there.
It'd have been nice.
Yeah.
We could have had it.
I'd give the potholers something to do, because there's bugger all else
I
down
was
there.
just going to say, we could have had another, what's it called, Flamingo Land up there, couldn't we, really?
Flamingo Land?
You know, one of these leisure parks. You know,
Oh, I
these
see.
theme parks for kids, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
couldn't we, really?
Yeah.
So, all right then, Alan, thanks very much.
OK, you
Cheers,
keep
mate.
taking
Bye.
them. They're not working
I
yet, but they will kick in eventually, don't they? Ta-ra now.
Cheers, mate.
Ta-ra. Brian says NATO and Russia mobilise troops as tension increases in Europe. The US president is to address the nation later today. A huge asteroid is on collision course for Earth. 4 major UK banks collapse. A Manchester football club is taken over. Killer disease pandemic. Death reaches 5,000. There'll be a special phone-in in Manchester this evening to discuss the football club takeover. Yeah, well, we give people what they want, Brian. That's why we had a phone-in on Radio Manchester to discuss the takeover of Manchester City, because people around here actually care. Now, I'm not one of them, that's for sure. But I promise you, if I did a phone-in at 6 o'clock tonight about a killer disease pandemic, no one would ring and no one would listen. Because, unlike you, most people are more interested in football. Ron in Little Alton. Hiya, Ron.
Hi, Alan.
What have you got?
This congestion charge.
Yes.
And people in your interviews saying that it won't affect them because they don't come into Manchester. In my view, I think it will affect them, because you've got plumbers, you've got all sorts of people providing services that have got to, might have to travel through Manchester to get to these people that they're serving. You will also get tradesmen going for supplies where they've got to go into Manchester, and they'll be charged extra. The utility services, they'll jump on it as well, won't they? They'll say, oh, well, we've got to do this and we've got to do that.
Well, the utility people won't, because it's a national charge rather than a local charge, so they won't, because you pay the same in
they won't, but
Billericay.
you'll get a lot of others that will.
Well, you will, yes, but what the people were saying was it won't affect me. And frankly, if you're employing a plumber, you get a plumber to come and call out these days, he's looking at 80, 90 quid. If that goes up to 85, 95, because you don't ring one every day, you won't notice.
No, but what I'm saying is they say it won't affect them, but indirectly it will.
Well, yes, in that respect.
Because the price of services will go up.
Well, it possibly will. It possibly will.
Well, I can see it happening anyway.
And I mean, they're wrong as well when they say it won't affect them, because one way it'll affect them, if we are to believe the politicians, and I've every sympathy with those who choose not to, but if we're to believe the politicians, it will affect everybody, because public transport will improve.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's an effect. What those people were actually saying, it won't affect me personally, what they mean by won't affect me, and you're right to point out the error, is that they won't be paying it.
Yeah, but I mean, the politicians, it's always been jam tomorrow with the politicians, hasn't it?
Well, yes, but this is, to be fair, this isn't jam tomorrow. This is, we'll spend £1.5 billion on improvements to public transport. Then we will introduce the congestion charge, which will enable us to pay the interest on a loan to pay for another billion quid worth of improvements. So that's what they're offering. Jam today in return for a tax tomorrow, which is the exact converse of what we usually get out of politicians. That's not to say it's a good or a bad thing, but that's what it is.
I mean, do they not think about schools? I mean, when you get schools off holidays, the amount of congestion they charge, they incur is bloody phenomenal.
Well, it is, and the answer to the question, have they thought of it? Yes, they have, because one of the things that many communities will have that they've not got now are proper school buses. We call them yellow buses. They're the school buses like they have in the States, and there'll be more of them, so there'll be more school buses, so one would presume from that fewer parents taking their little fat kids.
Agreed, but I think starting schools a bit later, something like that, you know what I mean? If they went down that path, they might cut a lot of congestion out.
Yeah, they might.
Because now you've got second cars, these women taking the kids to school, you know what I mean? You can't blame them, really. But it's a thing of the times, isn't it? It's the way things have gone. But they're causing a hell of a lot of congestion. I mean, like you, I used to be a bus driver for my sins for a short period. And when the schools were off, you'd come out of Wigan and going up to Standish, and it was like
it's a Bobby's job.
It's like being in a different place.
Yeah, exactly so. Maybe that's the answer. We just close all the schools. The last thing we want is clever kids anyway. Thank you very much, Ron. 0161228 2255. Just gone 20 to 1 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Mark Edwardson.
The government's trying to revitalise the housing market. From tomorrow, if you buy a house for up to £175,000, it'll be free of stamp duty. The tax break's expected to last for a year. But the news has failed to save an estate agent in Bolton from shutting 4 of its offices. Edwards says it's laying off 25 staff because of a credit crunch. And a rapist from Bolton's being hunted by police after he failed to turn up at court for his conviction and sentencing. Manchester's weather, well, don't expect the sunshine to last long. Showers are imminent. Temperatures, though, should reach about 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, traffic's still heavy this afternoon on the M60 over the Barton Bridge, anti-clockwise between 11 Barton and 10 the Trafford Centre, with congestion as far-reaching as junction 13 at Worsley. Earlier on this afternoon, there was a collision which happened to close off the inside lane of the 3 on the middle section of the Barton Bridge. Now, the lane reopened around about half an hour ago, but traffic's still heavy in the area. And in Oldham, Manchester Road on the A62's queuing up from Oldham towards the M60 between Chapel Road and Drury Lane. And don't forget, if you're using the trains, Transpennine Express services and Northern Rail services between Manchester Victoria and Bolton are subject to delays of 30 minutes because of signalling problems between Clifton and Farnworth. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on 01612 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester, Sports with Will Perry.
Good afternoon. Manchester City's new owner says he wants the club to challenge for honours on all fronts. Dr. Sulaiman Al Fahim says, we don't just want City to be challenging for trophies in England, but also in the Champions League. We want them to be in for every trophy available. Well, Al Fahim will travel to Manchester at the end of the week to meet manager Mark Hughes, who says he's as excited as the fans are about the club's potential to buy top players.
Whichever way you look at it, even if we don't actually get people through the door at the end of this window, I mean, the potential is there for everybody to see now, and obviously I'm very excited about what's in store for us.
Meanwhile, City's British transfer record signing Robinho won't arrive in Manchester until after Brazil's World Cup qualifies. That's in around 10 days' time. The £32.5 million signing will wear number 10 at Eastlands this season. So it's been a busy few weeks for City. Blues legend Mike Summerby says it's about time the club had a little bit of luck.
I mean, I've been to Abu Dhabi quite a few times, and they're very sports orientated, and the facilities there are brilliant. So, you know, we're very, very lucky. Manchester City Football Club are a big club, and it's, I think it's a wonderful thing for them. It's a time we had a little bit of luck coming on the line, and we've got a royal family that's taken us over, and we can compete with the biggest clubs in the country now, in fact, with anybody in the world now.
Meanwhile, City's ticket office has been inundated with applications for season tickets from earlier this morning. If you haven't got one, they're going like hotcakes. Manchester United appear to have avoided a row with Tottenham after effectively signing Dimitar Berbatov without permission from Spurs to talk to the Bulgarian. Red striker Fraser Campbell has joined Wande Ramos' side on loan as as part of that deal. Former United and City winger Peter Barnes doesn't think it was ever in Berbatov's mind to join Mark Hughes at Eastland.
I don't think so. I think they've been courting him for many months. I think possibly the difference is that he probably wants to play in the Champions League this season. That's probably the only difference. But, you know, it's just great coup that Man City, what's happened, you know, they're in for the best players in the world now in the future, and the fans and the club deserve it, and I'm overjoyed by what's happened the last 24 hours.
Well, Manchester United defender Wes Brown sat out of England training today ahead of Saturday's World Cup qualifier away to Andorra. Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole and captain John Terry also missed the session, but all four are expected to be fit for the game. Well, United won't have to face Liverpool striker Fernando Torres when the two sides meet on September the 13th at Anfield. The Spanish international has been ruled out for between 2 and 3 weeks after tearing a hamstring. Just to take you through some of the other deadline deals, if you missed them, Louis Saha completed his move from United to Everton. Carlo Nash has joined Saha at Everton from Wigan. Antoine Sibieski has also left the Latics. He's joined Norwich on loan. Rashid Bawazan has gone on loan to NEC Nijmegen. And Bolton's Blerin Zamali has joined Torino again on a loan deal. Well, Everton have signed midfielder Marouane Fellaini from Standard Liège for a club record fee of £15 million. Stoke made a triple transfer swoop. They re-signed defender Danny Higginbottom from Sunderland, bought Tom Sauce from Crystal Palace and Michael Tongue from Sheffield United. And Hull City, they brought in Daniel Kuzant from Rangers for an undisclosed fee. 3 of our local sides are in Johnston Paint Trophy action this evening. Oldham host Sammy McElroy's Morecambe. Stockport face Port Vale at Edgeley Park, whilst Macclesfield go to Crewe. Bury and Rochdale, of course, have been given byes. Well, to the cricket, Lancashire's James Anderson and Andrew Flintoff have been told by England coach Peter Morse to sit out for the rest of the county season. That's to help keep them fresh for a hectic winter with England. Well, BBC Radio Manchester's Lancashire reporter Chris Malaban joins me now. Chris, how big a blow is this?
I think it's a huge blow, Will. Mike Watkinson last week told me at Blackpool that he was hopeful that both players may be available at least for part of the rest of this season, particularly with the Champions Trophy having been rescheduled. There is an 8-week break between the final one-day international that starts tomorrow in Cardiff and the Stamford Super Series, so I think Watkinson and everybody else at Old Trafford were hopeful that Flintoff and Anderson might well feature in those matches. It's very disappointing, particularly in the light of Lancashire's plight in the county championship. They've tumbled down the table, and the return of one of those two, or perhaps both, I think would have made a real difference in their remaining games. But it's not to be. Lancashire are going to have to carry on with the existing squad that they've got, and that starts in the match up at Durham, which I'll be at tomorrow.
Thanks, Chris. That's BBC Radio Manchester's Chris Malaband. In tennis, Andy Murray will face Argentina's Juan Martín del Potro, who is on a 23-match winning streak in the quarterfinals of the US Open. The British number 1 beat the 10th seed Stanislav Wawrinka to reach the last 8. In the women's draw, sisters Serena and Venus Williams will face each other in the quarterfinals, 2 months after meeting in the Wimbledon final. And American Ryder Cup captain Paul Azinger will name his USA team this afternoon. We expect news of his 4 wildcards at around 3 o'clock.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
Well, you heard from Chris there. Lancashire return to county championship action on Wednesday. They're up at Durham in desperate need of a win. Live updates from Chesterley Street from 11 o'clock.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Jim in Bury says, why do people keep saying, but you'll have to pay if you drive into the city centre? I live in Bury, says Jim, but I'll have to pay to go to Ratcliffe. People in Ashton will have to pay to go to Droylsden. Stockport straddles the zone. You'll have to pay to go to Stockport. Vote against the outer zone, says Jim in Bury. Well, I don't know whether you'll get the chance to vote against the outer zone. I think it's going to be a straightforward, do you want it, don't you want it? We'll have to wait and see. Paul in Salford. Hiya, Paul.
All right.
Yeah, not bad. What have you got?
Safety cameras, speed cameras.
Yeah.
People who enforce the law for people who are speeding.
Yeah.
They do a very good job. Unfortunately, people keep on speeding.
They do.
I'm a professional driver. I've done bus driving like yourself. At the moment, I'm cab driving. Now, when it says 30, that's exactly what I do, 30.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that when I'm doing 30, other people who want to do 90 or 40 get very close behind me. I think what their objective is to make me, or try and make me, go faster.
Yeah.
So not only do they want to speed, they want to also drive dangerously. Now, speed cameras or safety cameras, they're up there, for a reason, not just to increase revenue for people breaking the law, but to try and deter people from speeding. It doesn't work because with some people, they see the camera, they slow down, off the gas, they get past the camera and off they go again, driving too fast. Now you will know that if you're doing 30 mile an hour, you're covering a distance of something like 45 feet per second. A lot of these people don't even read the highway code. They don't know their overall stopping distances. You know, and they'll carry on speeding until eventually there's a tragedy. Now, I don't care if there's a speed camera every 100 metres away. I don't even care if there's no speed cameras there, because it's 30. And if they get caught, they've only got themselves to blame. The police regularly do an operation in Salford, bottom of Silk Street, where there's a school. People come rip-roaring down the hill to be caught by the police with a radar trap. And I normally park up. It's entertaining, really, watching the body language of the people who get caught. So I'm parked up waiting for a job. And I see these people getting caught. And by the body language, it's a look of absolute surprise. Me, officer, I wasn't speeding. What's your feelings on that, mate?
Well, I don't have sympathy for anybody who's caught speeding, full stop. And in the days when it was me, I don't speed anymore as far as I'm aware, in the days when it was me, I just coughed up. This is the day where you've caught me, that's fine, I was breaking the law. Here's your money, effectively. I don't speed now. The thing that changed me wasn't speed cameras or any of that stuff. It was those television things where they said if you hit a kid at 20 mile an hour, it'll probably survive. Hit a kid at 30 mile an hour and it'll probably be badly injured. Hit it at 40 mile an hour, they'll be burying it. And I thought, I don't want that. I just don't want that on my conscience, full stop. And that affected my speed.
What they don't seem to realise is if you're going too fast, your reaction time, obviously, even somebody like a top racing driver, their reaction time is not much better than your normal Joe public. So if you're going too fast, it's going to take you longer to stop, and also
absolutely.
longer to react.
Absolutely. The stopping distances that we've worked on for years, I suspect some people will say are no longer accurate. Certainly drivers haven't by any stretch of the imagination got any more quick in their reactions. We are still the same creatures we were 10, 15, 20 years ago. But the braking systems on modern vehicles are considerably greater, considerably better, in that they will stop the vehicle more quickly than the old shoe brakes used to do. And of course you've got the anti-skid RBS systems and all that. Whatever it's called. What is it? Anti-skid braking, ABS.
ABS,
So they've got all that. But that will only reduce it by, I would imagine, I don't know, a small percentage, possibly 10%. So the figures are slightly out, but frankly, it's still ludicrous.
I'll tell you the ones you never see speeding. You never see them driving recklessly. The ones who've just passed the test, or the ones who are about to take a test, being supervised by...
Well, the ones who are about to take a test, I agree with you. The ones who've just passed a test, I'm not awfully sure how we know who they are. What I can tell you is that statistically, people are more likely to have an accident within the first 2 years of driving than after that time. That new drivers are the biggest number of people, if you like, the biggest proportion of people involved in road traffic accidents. Now, I don't know whether that's because of speeding. I just know that those are the figures. Well, not figures, but those are the facts, that new drivers are less likely, are more likely to have an accident.
I think it's all down to attitude.
It is. Well, we don't have long. I mean, you're a qualified driver, so how do we get people? Let's ignore the speed cameras, because you conceded yourself that they're not working, and many people say they were never going to work, they were only ever there for revenue. You reject that, but you also in the same breath said you don't think they work. In getting people to stop speeding, what do we need to do? How do we get that attitude to change?
Well, they do work because, like I said at the beginning of the talk, people tend to slow down if they see them.
Well, yes, but they don't work elsewhere. It doesn't. The existence of speed cameras doesn't turn a speeder driver into one that no longer speeds, it just makes him a little more, should we say, a little more likely to look out for the cameras.
Yeah, rather than looking out for a pedestrian.
So,
Or looking out for somebody
back to my question, what would you do to improve the driving standard, if you like, and get people to drive within the designated speed limits?
That's a difficult one, mate. I've not got the answer to that.
Well, I'm sure you've not. The authorities have been looking for that answer for donkey's years. Good on you, Paul. Paul says you get done by a speed camera. What are you whinging about? It's your own stupid fault. Steve in Sale. Hi, Steve.
Morning, Alan.
What have you got?
I'd just like to ask a question. With all this money that's getting pumped into Middle Eastlands now, Manchester City's...
Middle Eastlands, we like that.
Yeah.
Very good. It may get called that from henceforth. Go on.
Maybe it'd be an idea for these Arab investors to take a trip down to the town hall and make a payment for the ground that they're actually renting off the people of Manchester.
I'm not altogether sure that the city would sell it.
Well, it must be costing an absolute fortune. And the council taxpayers as a whole, it must be costing us money. I'd like to know, would it be on the Freedom of Information Act, how much City actually pay for the rent on this?
I think it would be regarded as a commercial secret. I don't know, but you can certainly ask, and indeed, I will ask our sports team whether they know, because if it's public knowledge or acceptable, you know, to find out, they'll know.
It'd be interesting.
Yeah, I shall ask our sports team. I'll get Ian Cheeseman to tell me what the rent is, if indeed there is a rent. But in the end, I suspect that Manchester City Council would rather have the land than actually sell it. I don't know, but I think it's unlikely they'd want to sell it.
It seems a bit odd that investors have actually pumped money into a football club that have got the only assets that they've got really are the players. There's no assets in the ground itself, or
indeed
in the structure of the structure of the club. And it'd be interesting to find out how much they've actually paid for the whole amount, the whole thing as it is.
Who do you mean?
These investors.
The investors are said to have paid. Let's have a look. I think we were talking about 200 million yesterday.
200 million?
200 million.
And how much did the ground cost to be built? I bet it wasn't far short of that.
It was a long way. It was a long way short of that, but you'll remember it was built for the Commonwealth Games, so an awful lot of the money to build it came from the Commonwealth Games project, which was a lot of lottery money and a lot of national government money and a lot of sponsorship money. The ground, as far as Manchester City Council are concerned, the argument went that they got the ground, they got the stadium free of charge because it was owned by the Commonwealth people, if you like, the Commonwealth bid, until it was handed over to the city thereafter. And now they've got a free piece of property that they rent out.
Right. Like I said, it would be very interesting to find out what the actual payments are due on that. If you could make a few inquiries for us.
Well, I mean, if the information is available, I'll get it for you, but it may not be available because it could well be a commercial secret, which means it's protected against the Freedom of Information legislation protects commercial secrets. All right.
Yeah, thanks very much.
We shall find out anyway. I'll get our city reporter to if the information is available, he'll have it.
We've got to warn the Earth, Jones.
Yes, Montgomery. People must switch to digital TV before it's too late.
In one of 3 easy ways. Convert their TV themselves with a digital set-top box.
Or get satellite cable or broadband TV installed.
Or get a new TV with digital built-in.
If they don't, the consequences will be dire.
Well, for a start, they won't get to watch us dealing with Earth-saving situations in a calm yet authoritative manner.
Good point, Monty. Good point. Cheers.
Go to digitaluk.co.uk and get set for digital.
Yeah, get set for digital. The criteria for putting speed cameras is twofold. Or what is two? I don't understand that. The sentence doesn't make sense. No one will confirm what seriously injured is, though, right? On one stretch of road near me, they have in the last year, put 3 cameras within a mile. So what happens when it happens again in a different location? If they carry on like this, they'll be putting them every 200 yards. Well, what he's saying is that he doesn't know how they decide where to put the cameras. They say it's because of serious injuries, but he doubts that.
New clothes, a new look for your home, and the all-new Mid-Shore with me, Becky Want, from 2 on BBC Radio Manchester.
0161228 2255, Radio Manchester at bbc.co.uk, and you can text on 07786 206 951.
95.1 FM,
DAB Digital Radio,
and the World Wide Web.
This is Manchester.
BBC Radio Manchester.
At 1 o'clock, stamp duty is to be scrapped for a year, and Greater Manchester Police hunt a rapist who's gone on the run.
City has set a trophy target by their potential new owners.
Well, this afternoon we're looking at a combination of sunny spells and scattered heavy showers. Top temperatures 18 Celsius.
And there was an accident not too long ago on the M62 heading Manchester bound, with a lane closed on the exit slip around Junction 9 at Winwick. Have just been told by the Highways Agency that exit slip road has now been reopened to traffic again.
I'm Alexia O'Connor. Good afternoon. For the next year, if you're going to buy a house under £175,000, you won't have to pay stamp duty. The government's announced it's raising the threshold by £50,000, saving you up to £1,750. It's part of a package of measures to help the housing market, including support for first-time buyers and homeowners facing the threat of repossession. The Community Secretary and Salford MP Hazel Blears says it's a good move.
I'm delighted about the stamp duty. It's going to help again, particularly first-time buyers, but generally people as well. I mean, increasing the limit from 125,000 to 175,000 for 12 months, I think again will give us that bit of boost that we need.
But the news has come too late to save an estate agent in Bolton. It's closing 4 of its offices because of the credit crunch. 25 people will lose their jobs at Edwards. The company, though, will keep its bespoke and surveying branch open. The firm's co-director, Derek Anderson, says they're having to close the offices after 12 months of poor trading caused by the credit crunch. Police are hunting for a convicted rapist from Bolton who went on the run before being sentenced. If you know where Nasser Iqbal's hiding out, then you're being urged to contact police. This from Catherine Murray.
The 21-year-old from Russell Street in Bolton was on bail during his trial for raping a 20-year-old woman, but he didn't turn up on the last day to hear he'd been handed 6.5 years in jail. That was in May, and police told us today that they've been unable to trace him. It's thought he's got links to the Fairfield area of Liverpool, as well as Bolton and Bury. Officers want to hear from you if you've got information about his whereabouts.
Officials in the American state of Louisiana say at least 8 people have been killed by Hurricane Gustav. The storm's now caused more than 100 deaths across the Caribbean. A 31-year-old man's being questioned about the murder of Timothy McPherson in Oldham 4 years ago. The 29-year-old from Lancaster was shot at close range in the stomach on Acre Lane in Durka. Police say a man was arrested last night. And chances are your kids and grandkids got a warmer welcome at school today than you did. As part of a softly approach to reducing truancy, many of Greater Manchester's schools are trying to make themselves less intimidating places, especially for the thousands of new starters like these pupils at St George's Roman Catholic High in Walkden.
Just don't be afraid, it's a good school. I've only been to St George's once to have a little taste today, and from the day I went in I really liked it, and my brother came here, so that's why I want to go, because he said he loved it.
When you see like elder children in year 11, they won't go, we don't want to know you, and they'll start taking mickey out of you. They just stay with you and tell you where to go.
And the Victoria and Albert Museum in London's bought the original artwork for the Rolling Stones' Tongue and Lips logo at a cost of just over £50,000. The image was first used on the group's Sticky Fingers album, released 37 years ago.
BBC Radio Manchester Sports with Steve Wyeth.
Manchester City's prospective new owner says he wants the club to challenge for honours on both sides of the channel. Dr. Sulaiman Fahim says we don't just want City to be challenging for trophies in England, but also in the Champions League. We want them to be in for every trophy available. Meanwhile, City's British transfer record signing Robinho won't arrive in Manchester until after Brazil's World Cup qualifiers in around about 10 days' time. Dimitar Berbatov says he's ready to handle the expectation and pressure of playing for Manchester United. The striker completed his protracted move last night after a summer of hostile negotiations between Spurs and United. The 27-year-old also said he felt his best years were still to come. United defender Wes Brown sat out England training today ahead of Saturday's World Cup qualifier in Andorra. Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole and captain John Terry also missed the session. And Lancashire's James Anderson and Andrew Flintoff have been told by England to sit out the remainder of the domestic cricket season to keep them fresh for the international winter.
BBC Radio Manchester satellite weather with Heather Stotts.
Well, this afternoon we will see some sunshine from time to time, but we're also going to see some showers as well, and those showers could be heavy. There could also be a rumble of thunder. We might even see a bit of hail from time to time. Top temperatures this afternoon getting to 18 Celsius.
Allan Beswick, halfway through your workday.
BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. Yeah, well, there you go. It does done it. Yes, always the way. Nothing I can do about it. Mark from St Helens says, hang on a minute, with regards to that chap stating that racing drivers aren't much better than normal drivers, I think he rates normal drivers far too highly. I'm a marshal at Oulton Park, and some of the skills I've seen in avoiding other cars or debris from cars or tyres is frankly astounding. The higher class of meeting, touring cars, F3, GTs, etc., are better than club racers, but not by much, and better than road users by far. I don't think he was talking about the standard of driving. I think he was talking about the reaction speeds. Does that change your view? I don't think human beings react that much different to each other, at different speeds to each other, or do they? I don't know. Andy in Bolton says, I find what Hazel Blaze said astonishing. The greedy suits at the banks created the credit crunch. If anyone should be bailing people out, it's them. Why should I, out of my taxes, pay for their irresponsible lending and borrowing? That's Andy in Bolton. Gareth, congratulations on finding the only taxi driver in the world that doesn't speak. And Paul from Lee, the police community support officer you refer to is a traffic police community support officer, which is the new title for the original GMP traffic wardens. Part of their role is road safety, which in turn benefits the community. That's Paul from Lee. And finally, Derek, also in Lee. I saw noddies doing this, that's PCSOs using traffic speed cameras. I saw speed guns, I'm afraid. I saw noddies doing this 2 years ago at St Helens. I checked them with Honest John from Telegraph Motor, and he said that they didn't have the power to make speeding convictions. Unless the laws change, my problem is, why would they ever be near such equipment if there wasn't a future intention to use them to catch speeding motorists? Surely they weren't implemented for such tasks, or indeed swimming to save lives, if they operate in Wigan. Reference there to a story of some time ago that caused a great deal of consternation, understandably so, at the time. And Terry says, I, like you, I'm a rugby fan, well, Wigan, and don't really care about the football stories, but I have to comment on this Manchester City takeover. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard that they set up a company to buy Manchester City, and they called it Abu Dhabi United. Did they get the wrong Manchester team? It reminds me of the London Bridge story. Oh, you must tell us the London Bridge story sometime, unless it's London Bridge being sold to the Americans. David in Rochdale. Now, Alan, now that the Manchester City Council's favourite football club have just received a massive cash injection, I await the civic reception to celebrate it. Last year there was a similar civic function in recognition of the Shinawatra takeover. However, 3 months ago, after winning the two biggest trophies available to English clubs, United were denied a similar accolade. Double standards or what? says David in Rochdale. I try not to get involved in that. Carol makes a point. I don't care who is gay and who is not, says Carol. What I do care about is people who can't differentiate between paedophile priests, child-abusing priests and rapist priests. Alan, gays do not necessarily abuse little boys, as you stated before. Indeed, I have stated that because it is absolutely correct. But when talking about gay priests, I went on to talk about gay Roman Catholic priests, and you can be gay and paedophile, but you're not necessarily both. That's for sure. So it's a bit like 6-foot guardsmen. All guardsmen are 6-foot men, but all 6-foot men are not guardsmen. Airfix apparently still going. I'm really relieved. Neil in Babington says, I can tell you Airfix is going strong, with a wide range of very nice kits too. I think it's owned by a French company nowadays. Neil, you really ought to get out more. 0161 228 2255 if you've something to say, and we will let you know. We'll find out. The stadium is not actually owned by Manchester City Football Club, but the City Council, who was passed on to the club. The ground, that is, was passed on to the club following the Commonwealth Games in 2002. On a 250-year lease, the length of the lease effectively means it's a freehold. It isn't, but it's nearly there. In a move described by one accountant close to the club as extremely clever, the club pays a lease fee to the council determined by the number of attendees per game, above average, and linked to the inflation rates. Appearing on the balance sheet as the total to be repaid, calculated across the 250-year period, the £42 million figure certainly makes an impact, but on an annual basis there is a relatively small effect on the profit and loss. Its 2005 year-end showed £3 million in lease payments to the council. So that's looking at the figures in arrear, as it were, as year-end figures inevitably will be. But in the financial year ending 2005, Manchester City paid £3 million rent to the City Council for the ground. They have it freehold, effectively. They've got it on a 250-year lease. You and me won't be seeing that out. So they're paying £3 million a year. The more people that go, the more they pay. The fewer that go, the less they pay. So there it is, £3 million a year. I think Manchester City, having signed a 250-year lease, couldn't now rescind that lease without some difficulty. And why would they, if they're getting £3 million a year in rent, when in truth they need do naught for it? All they have to do is say, yeah, OK, carry on. That's it, £3 million. Sounds good. The question of homosexuality rests on a crux. If it is inherent, in other words, people are born that way, says Chris in Hayfield, in certain individuals to be attracted to the same sex, then these individuals cannot be judged morally. If, on the other hand, homosexuality is a product of one's choices, then moral judgment can be applied to these individuals. In my opinion, based on the evidence, homosexuality is immoral. I believe such practices are the result of moral and psychological corruption. That doesn't mean I'd make it unlawful for consenting adults to practice, but I would certainly protect young people from having their morals corrupted by such. As far as the church is concerned, I thought homosexuality was a sin. In that case, having a gay vicar goes against their own teachings. This, in turn, will further damage any moral authority the church ever had. Well, Chris, it is a dilemma. It is, without doubt, a crux. Is homosexuality just like red hair? It's a genetic thing. It's the way you are, or does one make a choice? However informed that choice might be. I don't know either, and frankly don't care. As regards it being a sin, well, if we were to have only non-sinners as representatives of the faith, then faith would die, without a doubt, for there are no sinners. let he who is without cast the first stone. So the Pope's a sinner. He'll tell you that if you ask. The Archbishop of Canterbury is a sinner. So the fact that a person is a sinner cannot disbar them from holding holy orders, surely. Now, you may say this is a particular sin, but frankly, it's not a particular sin, it's just a sin. 0161 228 2255 if you've got something to say. You're more than welcome. All you have to do is pick up your phone and have a do. Yes. Anyway, we've got the details of that, so whoever it was that was asking, we're now fully informed. Terry says, yes, it was that story about the Yanks buying London Bridge while they believed it to be Tower Bridge. Either way, it never did fall down. They took it down. And Ace says Manchester City, maybe now City could pay full rates, etc., and pay money for the policing, etc., now that they have the money. Well, they pay for the policing in exactly the same way as do other clubs. So I don't know whether they should pay any more just because the bloke that owns it is now a rich bloke who's got his money in readily available and isn't facing jail. A more effective use of speed cameras would be on an ANPR system linked to the average speed calculators. When they use such systems during roadworks, it doesn't half concentrate people's minds. Mind you, when we drove back from the north of Scotland recently, I did the 400 miles at a speed of 55 to 60 in the interest of fuel economy. Talk about boring. Even her indoors, who hates me driving too fast, was complaining. That's David in Crumpsall. It is quite tedious doing 50 mile an hour, but it is surprising how much speed or how much distance you cover if you do so.
Life and laughs with Eamon and Jimmy.
If Intelligent Life is trying to contact us, why do they keep taking the people into the spaceships from trailer parks in the Appalachian Mountains? Why don't they go to somewhere where people can count only up to 5 on one hand?
Eamon and Jimmy.
This phrase actually originated in 1932, this dirty rat thing, in the film Taxi, in which Cagney said, "Come out and take it, you dirty yellow-bellied rat, or I'll give you something through the door."
This is going to be the world's longest catchphrase in a minute, this, you dirty double-crossing yellow-bellied rat. Shoot you through the door.
I'll give you a blast through your hinges.
If your radio sounds funny on Sunday morning, you must be listening to Eamon O'Neill and Jimmy Wagg.
Obvious, but funny.
Sunday morning from 9.
At BBC Radio Manchester.
A very good day to you. How are you? Excellent. Excellent. Quite so. Shall we get through these? Regarding the letter of the Manchester worker and police priorities, you say that the police should be spending more time catching drug dealers and violent offenders. Well, what you seem to have forgotten is that car crime is a real crime that affects many people. You say that they're targeting drivers with illegally spaced number plates and no car tax. Well, what you seem to have conveniently missed from your list of, no insurance, which normally goes with having no car tax. If you're a driver, then you should be happy that the police are taking these people off the roads, as I, for one, don't want to have to pay to get my car repaired when some uninsured driver hits me. Well, Terry, you won't have to, because there is the Motor Insurers Bureau. But that doesn't, of course, by any stretch of the imagination eliminate the need for people to have insurance, but it does protect us a little bit. David in Crumpsall, these cars covered with blankets and go up in the hills. Are the blankets inside or outside the cars? And are the cars parked up in quiet tracks or in lay-bys? What are you implying? A bit of rumpy-pumpy, I believe, is what you're implying, and it's rather unsavoury for this part of the world and this time of the day, if I may say. June in Cheadley-Hulme. Hiya, June.
Hello.
Hello, June. What can we do for you?
We were talking about the magpies yesterday.
We were?
And I've got a number that people can ring if they want any help getting rid of them.
Getting rid of magpies?
Well, you don't do it, you put a big balloon up or something in the garden, and it doesn't deter the other birds, it just deters the magpies.
How do the magpies know the difference? Or how do the other birds?
I haven't had a word with them yet.
You've not had a word? Is this,
This is RSPB.
The RSPB?
That's right.
Right, so rather than give the number, if people got in touch with the RSPB, they rang them, or they went on the website, they'd be able to avail themselves of these gadgets. Sorry?
Stuff.
Yeah, the trouble is, if I let you give the company name and number, I'm advertising, and that's rather frowned upon. But if people want to seek it out for themselves, they can.
You said I could give it.
Yeah, it's probably a bit. Well, it's good. It's good that you've done it, because it does mean if you. Where did you get the number from?
What, the RSPB?
Right. Well, if somebody wants to give the RSPB a ring, they can get that number out of the book, can't they? And they'll direct them. Have you any idea how it works? Yeah.
And it's like a balloon or something that you buy and you put it in the garden.
Yeah.
So I said, won't that deter all the other little birds? She said, no, only the magpies.
How very bizarre.
Well, if it works, it's a good idea.
Well, it might be. It might be. The other way.
I can but try. I mean, it's just a...
Yeah.
You know,
Why do you want the magpies deterred?
Well, I've just seen one chasing one, a blackbird, you see, and that's got me.
Because we started off yesterday talking about blackbirds, didn't we?
Yeah, it got me on my nerves because mine have been disappearing, but most of them go down south about this time of the year.
Well, wouldn't you? Bit warmer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dear God.
But, but you know, I did see it chasing this. There was a lot of screaming going on. They're chasing blackbirds stuff like that.
Well, I guess they do. They've got to eat. It's all part of nature, isn't it? Really. Yeah. If they've got a balloon that'll scare. If they've got a balloon that'll scare squirrels, they'll have it. Have you any idea what it looks like, this balloon?
No.
No.
Idea.
Okay. Well, good on you, June. Are you going to get one?
Okay.
Are you going to get one?
If I can, yeah. It depends on how much they are.
Ah, well, there you are, you see, with £1,000, I think I'd rather have the magpies, to be honest. But all right, good on you, love. Thank you very much indeed. There you are. Get onto the RSPB website. There is a balloon. I have no idea how it works. Maybe you can tell me, but there is a balloon, apparently, that will... I have no idea, but there's a balloon which, if you put it in your garden, it deters magpies, but not other birds. Weird. Absolutely weird. Chadderton Neighbourhood Policing Unit and Fire and Rescue Service are using pedal power to fight crime and prevent fires in the area. You remember the other day we were talking about fire bobbies on bikes with a ladder and a bag of... Yeah, you remember it, yeah. Well, it turns out we weren't being as funny as we thought. Not new there, then. Just gone 1:20. BBC Radio Manchester news headlines. Alexia O'Connor.
There's finally a bit of good news if you're trying to buy or sell a house. The government's announced a year-long stamp duty holiday for homes worth up to £175,000. Officials in the American state of Louisiana say at least 8 people have been killed by Hurricane Gustav. The storm's now caused more than 100 deaths across the Caribbean. And police are hunting a rapist from Bolton who failed to turn up at court to get his 6.5-year sentence. Manchester's weather, some sunny spells, but also some heavy showers with the risk of hail and thunder. Your high today, 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
Well, signalling problems between Clifton and Farmworth mean half-hour delays between Manchester, Victoria and Bolton on Northern Rail services and Transpennine Express services. Hopefully, though, all should be sorted out by around about 2 o'clock. If you're heading through Farmworth, those temporary traffic lights causing slight delays on Albert Road, whilst off-peak period roadworks get underway around Harrowby Street. And in Tilsley, the A580, the East Lancs Road, starting to slow down through the speed restriction. Barrier repair works on the westbound between Neworth Road and Chaddock Lane causing delays in the area on the Liverpool-bound carriageway. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on 01612 244 4951. I'm Cara Banks.
Decongesting Manchester, one car at a time. 2020 traffic.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Dave in Greenfield says PCSOs will be used more and more for everyday policing, with the real police being used to deal with more serious crime and public disorder. I think PCSOs will be used for local policing, with the police being formed into a national force, much like the gendarmerie in France. I and a lot of people like me have seen this coming for some time. However you want to look at it, it's policing on the cheap, not cheaping on the police, which is an entirely different matter. It's policing on the cheap, Dave. Thank you very much for that. And maybe you're right, and maybe that's what we need. Terry's still upset. Just heard the story regarding the author who ate the poison mushrooms. This man can't be that clever to go out and pick mushrooms and then eat them. Has he never heard that lots of mushrooms are not fit to eat? Come to think of it. Has he never heard of Sainsbury's? 0161 228 2255. Mark in Prestwich. Hiya, Mark.
Hi, Alan. Hi. Just as a bit of advice, please. Recently had a bathroom fitted, both purchased and fitted by a large, well-known DIY store. We're having problems with it now, but it's 16 months after installation. It's actually leaking through into the kitchen below, and some of the runners on the shower have actually worn away, completely rusted away. I've contacted the people involved, but they're telling me now that because it was 16 months after it was fitted, it's outside the 1-year warranty, and tough luck. I wonder if there's anywhere that I can go now, or...
court, basically. You go to court. No, it isn't tough luck. The position... goods have to be fit for purpose for a perfectly reasonable time after their sale. Now, these companies say we'll give you a 12-month guarantee. What they also tell you when they give you that 12-month guarantee, if you read it, it will say on it, this does not affect your statutory rights.
Okay.
Your statutory rights are usually better than the 12-month guarantee in that they last beyond the 12-month guarantee. Okay. So what you need to do is to get back in touch with the company and say, frankly, I wasn't relying on my 12-month guarantee. I was relying on my statutory right, and my statutory right gives me the right to have a working product, and I want you to come and repair it because it shouldn't have gone faulty in this short time. And if you don't come and repair it, I will get somebody else to repair it and sue you for the cost of that repair.
Okay, the two items were obviously the rusting of the fitments. That I can see that's sort of not fit for purpose, etc. So I'm quite happy with that. Does that also apply for the leak going through?
Well, that will depend on why it's leaking.
Right.
And we can't know that until we look. But you're suggesting that the leak is a result of, I presume, a faulty junction.
Yes.
A faulty connection. Well, if that is the case, then whoever did it, and if you're telling me that they employed the people that did it, then they're responsible for that. Okay.
That's great. I'll take it up with them. Thanks so much for your time.
What I would do, I would talk to them first, and then if they're not prepared to discuss it further or bend a little from their already stated position, I would then deal in writing and deal with their head office and write to them and say, you get one more chance to put it right. I'm not relying on my 12-month guarantee. I'm relying on my statutory rights, which of course cannot by law be affected by your guarantee, and my right is to have pipe work that lasts for in excess of 12 months, in excess of 2 years, and stuff that doesn't rot when it's designed to be in water. Okay.
That's great.
See what
Thanks
they
for
say.
your time.
All right, good on you.
Cheers, Alan.
0161 228 2255. We're back to the racing driver, I'm afraid. Mark says, no, it doesn't alter my view. Reaction times in racing drivers are way ahead of road users. If something happens at 140 mile an hour, you need ultra-fast reactions to save yourself from an accident. If a road driver did that, it would end in a big mess. Well, it would only end in a big mess if the road driver took the same action that a racing driver takes. You say that the reaction time of a racing driver is quicker than that of a motorist. I would still question it, Mark. I would question it. I've nothing to go on other than the options available to a racing driver, and he or she knows what they are at the moment. In other words, if you're driving your racing car, you know that the traffic lights aren't going to change. You know that you're not going to be overtaken zip like that because you've been watching the guy behind you more than you've been watching the road sometimes. So you have fewer decisions you need to make. So that might mean you'll make the decision more quickly, but not because of your reactions, simply because you need less thinking time because there are fewer options for you to consider. I don't know whether either of us will ever prove that, but that's just the thought that comes to me. Norma in Wigan, being gay is not a sin. Practicing homosexual acts are just like money. It's not a sin, it's the love of money that's wrong, according to the Bible. Andy in Bolton, I find what Hazel Blaze has said astonishing. We read that one before, sorry. The greedy suits at the banks created a credit crunch. If anyone should be bailing people out, it's them. Well, yes, but it's all very well saying you got us waist-deep in crap, you get us out of it. But, of course, some people don't like the experience of being waist-deep in crap and be perfectly happy for the government to help them out of it, even if it's somebody else's fault that they ended up in the crap in the first place. David, Vedran Koluka has just been transferred from Manchester City to Tottenham Hotspur. He said, I'm delighted to be here because I'm coming to a big club with players with great ambition. Little realising he'd just left the richest football club in the world. That's David. If that means something to you, then you have my blessing. It means nothing to me. I would give good money to see you, Jim and Eamon, do a live show. Then that would be a laugh. Well, send us the money. I think it's about £1 apiece. And if the money comes, then we'll sort one out. Well, you've offered money. I'm up for it. Yeah, no problem at all. Just send us the money first, and then we'll be able to work it out. Yeah, from there. Well, no, I like money up front, you see. Yeah, because I can see what'll happen. We'll put the show together. No one comes. Not having it. Keith says, this balloon that deters magpies, it's probably got the Blue Peter flag on it. Now, what was that blonde bird's name in Magpie? I didn't watch Magpie, I don't know. Hey, did you see this morning that Biddy Baxter, who for about 1,000 years was the producer of... Yeah, she was. She was the producer of Blue Peter. And she's finally admitted this morning in the papers, because she's got a book out. You'd be surprised the truth a book drags out, or the entertaining lies, depending on which way you look at it. But she's finally admitted that Petra wasn't really Petra at all. They got Petra. Petra's a dog. It's not one of the presenters, although I see the error sometimes. Anyway, they got Petra from an animal rescue centre. And she was on the tape. I presume with a name like Petra it's a she, but, you know, I don't know. I've never looked. I can't remember when I last watched Blue Peter. I think Val Singleton was being crapped on by an elephant last time I watched. But I might have just seen that on a clip show, you can't be sure. Anyway, and what we didn't know at the time we now know, and we could have done without knowing, involving that Peter Perverse and all that. Yeah, we didn't need to know that, did we, dear God? Anyway, where was it? Yeah, and so Petra got the job at Blue Peter. The auditions must have been fantastic. Well, she got the job, and it wasn't Maggie Philbin. She didn't have blonde hair. No, Ian says it was Maggie Philbin. No, it wasn't. Maggie Philbin had black hair. No, I don't know. No, Sarah Green was Blue Peter. He wants to know who was the blonde girl on Magpie. I don't want to know. I don't give a monkey's cuss. Anyway, I'll get back to Biddy Baxter, if I may. Thank you. She admitted that they got Petra from a dog rescue centre. And they put her through her paces, and then they had her on the telly, and 2 days later she nuffed it. The dog, that is, not Biddy Baxter. She's still alive writing books. Or maybe they changed places, I don't know. But the dog nuffed it. Yep. Woof, 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 woof. Clearly didn't like the telly job, and threw herself on a collar, hung herself off a nuke. No, she just died, Petra. So they got another, and they never told the kids. They never said. They could have done a little song, couldn't they? Petra's dead, hey, oh, Petra's dead. They could have done a little song, because they used to do songs on Magpie, and they did the Bucketeers on that other one with him, who's gone on to do all sorts of things, including Wanna Be a Millionaire and all that, and he is. Yeah, no. But, yeah. So, Petra died, apparently, within 2 days of getting the job on the telly. Yeah. And that's it. That's all I got. Well, I'm just telling you what she said. You'll have to buy the book if you want more, which I think is exactly what she wants me to say. Buy the book. Buy the book. Do it, buy the book. Yeah. Here it is. Where's it gone? I had it for a minute then. Anyway, I can't find it now. But it's... Who was she then? No, the blonde woman, girl. Jill in Rochdale says Leslie Judd was on Blue Peter. Jenny Hanley was on Magpie. Was she the daughter of Tommy Hanley? Was it Tommy Hanley? Who was the Hanley fella? Oh, I don't know. Jenny Hanley. Everybody's saying Jenny Hanley. So we've gone on awfully well. You see? Ask and you shall receive. I've got to find this story now about a dead Blue Peter dog. Yeah. Do they bury him in the Blue Peter garden? Or do they go to the Great Blue Peter in the sky? Here it is. The Great Petracon. Petracon, that sounds like a firm, doesn't it? Petra.con. For millions of young viewers, Petra, the Blue Peter dog, was the next best thing to a pet of their own. And it didn't crap in your garden. Long after death, pilgrims still visit her statue in the Blue Peter Garden at Television Centre. But only now... Am I being suitably morbid here? Very good. But only now has the programme's former editor, Biddy Baxter, told the full story of how its first adopted animal was actually a fake. Yeah? She was an emergency replacement found when the original dog died 2 days after her debut. In a book chronicling 50 years of Britain's favourite children's programme, Ms. Baxter describes the scandal, male word, scandal, in detail. She recalls on our last episode before Christmas 1962, the head of children's television, Owen Reed, appeared on screen with a large cardboard box covered with festive paper and ribbons. He presented it to Christopher Trace, and Valerie Singleton, who cut the ribbon, opened the box and revealed a tiny 8-week-old black and brown puppy. It was the dog's first and last telly appearance. 2 days later, she died of distemper. Do you think she caught it off Valerie Singleton? It's hard to know, isn't it, really? Yeah, well, she must have got it from somewhere. Liz in Leek. Hiya, Liz.
Hi, Liz. Alan, how are you?
I'm all right.
Good. Trying to put you out of your misery, Alan. I think it might have been Susan Stranks on Magpie.
Susan Stranks?
Yeah.
Never heard of her.
Oh.
Well, I'm sorry.
You've never lived.
Ah, well, there's a lot. How do you spell I can't really get it from the pronunciation. Susan?
Stranks.
Stranks?
S-T-R-A-N-K-S.
All right.
Might be.
You see, you're moving away from it now. You're full of confidence when you came up.
Putting doubts in my mind.
Am I putting doubts? Well, everybody else is saying Jenny Hanley. Tommy Hanley's daughter.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
You're not going for that?
No.
OK.
See if anybody else agrees with me.
Well, we will. Well, that is precisely what we will do. But so far, they haven't. So far, if it was a vote, and it's not, of course, because it's facts. If it was a vote, then I'm afraid we'd be down to Jenny Hanley.
Ah.
Because that's where they're all going.
I'll leave your other listener to make the decision.
All right, well, I'm not going to. I couldn't make a decision, saved my life, so I ended up with this job. Thank you very much, ma'am.
OK, then.
I've never heard of Susan Stanks. I didn't even know she did. Oh, dear. Oh, blonde-haired female presenter, Dave in Salford. It was Susan Stranks. It's got an R in it. Susan Stranks, not Stanks. So there you are. Liz, someone agrees with you. £1,000 apiece. And I pick the venue and sell the tickets. Deal or what? Minimum 2-hour show. OK, yeah, that's fine. You pick the venue, sell the tickets, and you spend £1,000 apiece on me, Eamon and Jimmy. Sounds fine to me. Yeah, we're just doing a bit of negotiation. No agents, no nothing. I was reading about these destroying angels online, Daily Mail. I then looked it up on Wikipedia. The information there was word for word repeated in the Mail article. Listen, you can get a PhD now with Wikipedia. Oh, God, yes. And Gordon also wants to know something about the underground... the underground stealth bomber in Buxton. He says he probably thinks it would need a good repairman to put it together. Did the Americans leave it behind? Well, all I can say is they didn't take it with them. Whether they left it behind... is an entirely different matter. Who was Susan Stranks, then? Well, the answer to that is clearly the woman who was on Magpie. Never mind. Keith in Blackpool said the torture and murder of the young Chinese couple in Newcastle, it's emerged that the couple were involved in an internet betting scam. and the trading of fraudulent documents, such as travelling visas and professional qualifications. Says Keith in Blackpool. Well, that's certainly been alleged. I don't know whether... I mean, it don't matter, they're dead. I mean, it probably matters to them that they're dead, but it doesn't matter in terms of we can't libel them. But that's no reason to just let it go. It certainly has been alleged, but whether it's a fact, we shall have to wait for more information. I live in Macclesfield, often drive to Manchester. I won't be able to vote on the congestion charge, but I will be affected by the charge. But will I have to pay towards the expensive postal ballot? Or will the local ratepayers foot the bill? I don't know who's paying for it. I suspect the local ratepayers, but I don't know. And all I can say about the expense of it, it'll be considerably less expensive than if it were a turn-up and vote, as it were. She was the daughter of Dinah Sheridan and Tommy Hanley. That's Jenny Hanley, obviously, not Susan Stranks. She was the daughter of two entirely different people. Oops, Jimmy Hanley, not Tommy. Jimmy Hanley. Are they different? Clearly. Was it Jimmy Hanley? He was on the radio a lot, wasn't he, in the 30s and 40s. Yeah. And I'm now being sent... I'm now being sent website addresses for Susan Stranks. And here's a picture of her. Yeah. And once again, she's not got blonde hair. She's got black hair. So who was the blonde-haired one? Or wasn't there one? You see, you just fish in the pool, you get nowhere. Ah, well. Just gone 20 to 2 on BBC Radio Manchester. News headlines, Alexia O'Connor.
The government's announced measures to help the flagging housing market, including a year-long stamp duty holiday. It'll apply to houses worth up to £175,000. One of the leading international economic think tanks, meanwhile, has predicted that the UK will go into recession this year. And the Victoria and Albert Museum in London has bought the original artwork for the Rolling Stones Tongue and Lips logo at a cost of just over £50,000. Manchester's weather, a mixed afternoon ahead of us with sunny spells and heavy showers. Your high today, 18 Celsius.
BBC Radio Manchester, 2020 traffic.
We're hearing problems on the M6 on the southbound side of the carriageway between junction 24, Ashton in Makerfield, through to junction 23 at Haydock. It seems there's been a collision, but details are rather sketchy at this stage, so we will update you further in the next bulletin. Let's take a quick look now to the train situation, and delays of up to 30 minutes can be expected between Manchester Victoria and Bolton. It's all due to these signalling problems between Clifton and Farnworth, and that's also affecting TransPennine Express services as well. Now, hopefully, all should be back to normal by around about 2 o'clock. Of course, again, we will update you further as soon as more news arrives with us. Don't forget, if you can update me further, call in on the travel line, and the number that you need to dial, of course, 0161244 4951. I'm Carla Banks.
BBC Radio Manchester, Sports with Steve Wilde.
Hello, good afternoon. Just when you thought events of the last 24 hours couldn't get any more startling, Manchester City's new owners have made none other than Cristiano Ronaldo their next transfer target, and they're willing to pay in excess of £100 million. That's the news from the man who yesterday broke details of the Abu Dhabi United Group's intentions to buy City. An Arabian business website says City's prospective new owners will make their $240 million offer in January. Meanwhile, the Blues boss, Mark Hughes, plans to meet his British transfer record signing in London this afternoon. £32.5 million Robinho will be in transit at a London airport on his way to South Africa. The City fans queuing for season tickets and Robinho shirts this lunchtime will, though, have to wait a little longer. Robinho won't be in Manchester until the end of next week following Brazil's World Cup qualifiers. Well, after an exciting day or so at Eastlands, Blues legend Mike Summerby says it's about time the club found themselves on the up.
I mean, I've been to Abu Dhabi quite a few times, and they're very sports-orientated, and the facilities there are brilliant. So, you know, we're very, very lucky. Manchester City Football Club are a big club, and it's, I think it's a wonderful thing for them. It's a time we had a little bit of luck coming on the line, and we've got a royal family that's taken us over, and we can compete with the biggest clubs in the country now. In fact, with anybody in the world now.
Dimitar Berbatov says he's ready to handle the expectation and pressure of playing for Manchester United. The striker completed his protracted move last night after a summer of hostile negotiations between Spurs and United. The 27-year-old also said he felt his best years were still to come. Well, that was another move City tried to hijack, although former City and United winger Peter Barnes felt he was always destined for Old Trafford.
I think they've been courted in for many months. I think possibly the difference is that he probably wants to play in the Champions League this season. That's probably the only difference.
United defender Wes Brown sat out England's training today ahead of Saturday's World Cup qualifier away to Andorra. Frank Lampard, Ashley Cole and captain John Terry also missed a session, but all four are expected to be fit for the game. Bolton's Joey O'Brien has now linked up with the Republic of Ireland squad for their World Cup qualifiers in Georgia and Montenegro. He suffered a head injury at the weekend. Three of our local sides are in Johnston's Paint Trophy action this evening. Oldham host Sammy McElroy's Morecambe, Stockport face Port Vale at Edgeley Park, and Macclesfield go to Crewe. Meanwhile, Bury and Rochdale have, of course, been given byes to the next round. It's not all been football transfers over the last 24 hours. Salford City Reds have signed Mark Henry from North Queensland Cowboys. Henry will join teammate Ray Cashmere along with Luke Swain and Jeremy Smith at the New Look Reds next season. And the Widnes Vikings have signed former Hull halfback Anthony Thackeray from Castleford and winger Danny Mills from Sheffield. In cricket, Lancashire's James Anderson and Andrew Flintoff have been told by England to sit out the remainder of the domestic season to keep them fresh for the upcoming international winter. And the American Ryder Cup captain Paul Azinger will name his USA team this afternoon. We expect news of his 4 wild cards in just over an hour's time.
The next live action on the Northwest's biggest sports station.
It's cricket again for you on BBC Radio Manchester. Coming up next from tomorrow at 11, Lancashire are on their travels in the County Championship up at Durham.
BBC Radio Manchester.
Ted in Moston said it's been known that Blue Peter used an imposter, Petra, for years. Not by me, it hasn't. I didn't know. That was a great revelation to me. I was stunned when I read that out. What? What? No! I was. Don't you call me a fibber. Pat's in Whitefield.
Hello, Alan.
Hiya, Pat.
It's already been answered what I'm going to say.
Well, you answer it anyway.
It was Susan Stranks and Jenny Hanley.
They never had two?
Yeah, they did, eventually.
Oh, I see. One replaced the other.
And yes, and Jenny Hanley was Jimmy Hanley's daughter, no relation to Tommy Hanley.
Who's Tommy Hanley, then?
You know, Itmar. It's that man
that
again.
was Tommy, right. Oh, it was Jimmy Hanley.
Jimmy Hanley was a film star in the 50s.
Oh.
And Susan Stranks was married to Robin Day, who was Ted Ray's daughter, the comedian. Sorry, Ted Ray's son.
Yeah, well, I'd work that bit out. Robin Day, who went on to be Sir Robin Day?
Oh, no.
Oh, right,
no.
right.
No, sorry, Robin Ray.
Robin Ray?
Robin Ray, Ted Ray's son.
Robin Ray, yeah.
Yeah, he did quiz shows, you know, the very sedate ones, like Call My Bluff and something about music. He was very musical, into music and all that. Very good-looking lad.
Steady now.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think we're fully informed. How do you know all that?
Well, you know, getting on a bit in years and...
Yeah, you can't remember what you did yesterday, but you
know.
But you know everything from 1955 onwards.
Anything trivial. Full of trivial information.
Yeah, it's never found a use for it until now. Good on you, Pat. Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Alan.
We are fully informed now. Susan Stranks was the original presenter on Magpie. Put your hand up if you give us stuff. Not a finger moved. And was replaced by Jenny Hanley, who wasn't related to... No, which one was it? She was related to one of the Hanleys, but not the other. And not related to Robin Day, who was replaced by Ted on Blue Peter. I think I've got it, and Petra's the dog. Keith in Colchester. Hiya, Keith.
Hi, Alan.
I'm all right, mate.
Just the lady's taken the wind out of my sails somewhat, but just further details on Susan Stranks.
Right.
She was considered a bit of a looker in the day, and she used to do...
A bit of a what?
A bit of a looker.
She was pretty.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
And she did a little thing called finger bobs, if I'm not mistaken. It was a kind of a glove puppet mouse with whiskers on it, and that was
a little pointy thing.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the very one.
Was that part of Magpie, that?
I think it might have been.
Yeah.
She did that, and she was married to Robin Ray, who was a highbrow quiz programme presenter, and he was son of Ted Ray, the ex-comedian from the 40s and 50s.
I remember Ted Ray. He's stepping in my office a minute, Ray. He had his own show on radio. Ray, what was it? The Light programme.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
There was another lady...
I'll bet June Whitfield played his wife, because she's played everybody else's wife.
I'm sure, yeah, and she's still going, isn't she?
She's still going, yeah, he's not.
So.
He was a bit deaf, you know.
He is or was?
Was. He is when he was alive, but once he died, he was. He was completely deaf then.
Definitely deaf.
Yeah.
There was another lady called Muriel Young. Now she was a serious looker in the realms of Ava Gardner, and all our dads used to rush home from work to see if they could catch a glimpse of this gorgeous Muriel Young. Now, if anybody can remember which programme she was on, I'd be fascinated. I don't think she was married to Jimmy Young, because it's getting a bit Nephimistic, this programme, isn't it? Everyone's related to somebody else. But she was for me, the best looking piece on TV for its day. And I think there was a few stars then. We've got too many personalities now on TV, not enough stars for my liking.
What's the difference?
Well, I don't know. I think there seems to be a route, doesn't there? They come onto TV programmes for kids and they work their way through. Yet, I don't know whether I'm just an old fart, but the talent level doesn't seem to be there. They don't entertain me as much as they used to. That's the best thing.
Well, that might be that you've got a grumpy bugger.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, that might be that. I mean, you know.
I'll fit on that note, the grumpy old man, that's my programme.
Is it? You like that one, do you? She did all sorts, did the one you said. She's been in loads of stuff, Muriel Young.
Yeah.
Loads and loads. No, I can't, because I'm just looking on the website now, and there's no picture available.
No, she was really...
Well, she's been dead since a good while. She was born in 1928.
That's right. My mother's age, yeah. Same age as me. She should be 80-something now, she God knows, whatever.
Right, so let me get this straight. You used to rush home to see a woman on the telly who was the same age as your mother. Right. I'm sure I would have cared what age she was. She was gorgeous. She was gorgeous. So you're not that fussy. I'll just write that down. Keith, not that fussy. All right, mate. Thank you very much. Right, we've gone from God alone knows what. We've gone from a dead dog to a dead star. So that's it. So we've done, she died in 71, I think. Have you heard about here we go. Have you heard about the underground city built beneath Burton Wood Air Base, built in case of World War III starting? The runway for planes is the M62, apparently. Well, that's almost clever. Let's not go over the top here. That's almost clever, because the M62 was the runway for Burton Wood, not underground. Because even the it was. When you're going down the M62, as you go past IKEA, and the car swerves in that direction because of the big magnet they have at IKEA. They must have something dragging you there. It can't be the beds. Anyway, so you drive past on the M62, heading towards Liverpool because you're fed up with your hubcaps. And the magnet doesn't get you. They're having a day when they're crowded, so they've turned the magnet off, and you're allowed to keep going. If you look to the right, you'll see some aeroplane hangars in the middle of nowhere. And that used to be Burton Wood Air Base. And because they already had the hardcore, they used the M62. Yeah. Oh, yeah, put the M62... We got the hardcore, we got it already, we only had to paint it, put a bit of white line on it, it'd be fine. And it was. Dave in Ratcliffe. Hiya, Dave.
Hello, Alan.
How are you doing?
Your magpies.
They're not mine. They're wild animals.
No, the squirrels are yours, aren't they?
No, they're not.
No.
They're nobody's. Go on, anyway.
You know the way you say to get rid of them? Get rid of squirrels. That's the way you get rid of magpies. Because magpies are classed as vermin. Did you watch...
I don't... Hang on a minute. I don't think you're allowed to shoot magpies.
The class as vermin. The cannibals.
Well,
they kill other birds and
well, it doesn't matter what they... I mean, eagles kill other birds, and you bloody well can't shoot them.
Alan,
I don't think...
You look it up. The class as vermin.
Well, it don't matter what... well, that's what you keep telling me. Just saying it over and over again doesn't make me believe it.
Your squirrels are classed as vermin.
Yes, they are, but they're different on account of them not being birds.
Magpies are classed as vermin.
Well...
Same as rooks and crows. Did you not watch the telly the other night? Rooks and crows. and there's an actual recipe for rook pie.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Did you see him go out and shoot them?
No.
Well, he went out and it showed him shooting them with a 12-bore shotgun.
Right.
And he took them back and he stripped them and he stripped the breasts off them and he put them in and he ate them. It was Hell's Kitchen. But he actually shot these rooks in this rookery. He shot them with a farmer and he stripped them and he ate them. And magpies are classed as the same sort of thing. They're the vermin.
Well, all right. As I say, you keep saying it, and it doesn't change my position. I'm prepared to have you say it again if you want, but...
Well, look it up. Look it up. You look it up. The class of vermin.
I'm not really sure where I can look it up. What website do you recommend that I look up?
Well, you get onto the RSPB or whoever else. I mean, you don't put a balloon in the thing. It's going around killing young birds in nests and things like that.
Yeah, we know what it does. We've got all that. We know all that. But I think if I rang the RSPB and said, "Am I okay to kill magpies?" I think they'd say no.
Well, they'd say the same for rooks and crows, wouldn't they?
Yes, they would.
Yeah, and yet there's a bloke there on the telly shooting them.
Well, but just because he's been on the telly doesn't make it true. Bloody hell, Doctor Who travels through space and time.
Alan, why aren't they prosecuting him?
I have no idea.
Well,
you'd have to ask them who's doing it.
They're not prosecuting him because of vermin.
Well,
the class.
Look, I did mention sometime earlier, Dave, that if you keep saying it, I'll let you keep saying it, but it won't make me believe it.
You can do the same with Canada geese. You can shoot Canada geese.
It still doesn't make me believe it. And just because you can do it with one doesn't mean you can do it with the other.
Alan, well, don't believe it then.
I'm not going to believe it.
I'm not going to say it again, but believe me, when you found out whether you can or not, just say it on the radio, will you?
Well, Kevin agrees with you.
Thank you very much.
Well, say that to Kevin.
Just find it.
Say thank you very much. Say thank you very much, Kevin. It's him that agrees with you.
Well, there you go. Thank you very much, Kevin.
There you are. You're there. You only have to say it once. Have a good day. Cheers, mate. 0161 228 2255. He says you can kill magpies if you want. I don't want. I don't like the idea of killing birds. No. Well, I don't. That's it. Nothing I can do. Yeah. And they are horrible. The great problem with magpies in our sort of world now is that they don't have a predator. There isn't really a predator for magpies. There used to be, but we killed all them. And we don't have one for magpies now, so there's hundreds of the beggars.
Your Sunday morning lie-in with Mike Shaft.
Can you explain, first of all, the history of Ramadan?
There's a verse in the Quran which actually mentions that fasting is incumbent on Muslims. So fasting is not a new phenomenon as such.
Mike Shaft.
So what does it mean for you to be a Catholic?
I mean, that obviously is a sort of question that you can imagine theologians battle over. It's very hard to describe to anybody else. It's like any faith identity. You grow up with it. It becomes part of the fabric of your being. Doesn't mean that you have to shut anybody out.
Manchester's faith, spirit and life's difficult questions with Mike Shaft.
Certainly sounds big and interesting.
Sunday morning from 7 on BBC Radio Manchester.
I'm indebted to Bill in Royton, who sent me a picture of Muriel Young, and she's got a lovely pussy. I think it's a puppet. I don't think it's a real one. And they're both sat... What's up? It's there. It's in the picture. And they're both sat there, and they're drinking tea. Well, I don't know whether they've been drinking it, but they've got tea, because they've got teacups. Bone china. That's lovely. It's very nice. There's no name. Well, there is actually a name on the cat, but you can't quite see it because the cup's in the way. Anyway, she died on the 24th of March 2001. I'll make a note in my diary. We'll have a bit of a tribute. And the cat never lived because it's a puppet. So there. But thank you all the same, because that's lovely, yeah. Susan Stranks had dark hair and was the first girl on Magpie, and she was replaced by the blonde Jenny Hanley. Do you know, my life has not been in vain. Now that we've got to the bottom of that, it's been a terrible, terrible problem. But now we know. We've sorted it out. Did you know magpies are vermin? Magpies are vermin, you know. Oh, yeah, magpies are vermin, says Gordon. I can't imagine. I can't imagine what he means by that. Not in the least. And Tim in Worsley said you were on about age discrimination and how Selena Scott is suing Channel 5 for age discrimination. And I pointed out that when she was on the telly, when she was young, She never said, look, don't give me the job. Get that old slapper over there with a bit of experience to do it. I don't remember her saying that. Anyway, Tim in Worsley says, do we want an old slapper presenting a midday discussion programme on regional radio? Yes, we do. Well, that's a bit harsh, Tim, but anyway, go tell the manager, maybe you can find one. 0161 228 2255. I don't know what I'm laughing at, it's not funny. Part of my work involves the postal service. Well, part of everybody's work does. Doesn't it, really? I'm possibly the oldest postboy in Manchester, he says. One thing I've learned that if you want to carry out a bulk post, the worst time to do it is in December, as I'm the only person who knows this. I'm sure, if asked, the post office would advise waiting until December for any non-urgent bulk posting. I haven't a clue what you're going on about. I've no idea what you're going on. Why have I got to read that? I'm not thinking of sending out any bulk posting. Or even any small stuff. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm confused now. Ta-ra!
How to deal with commitment issues.